and this particular show is tagged 10 questions. Today I'm super excited because this is the third edition. Oh, good afternoon. Thank you for joining Food Approach. Oh, wow. Baki Osage, thank you for joining. Yes. Rolake, thank you for joining. Lanayo, thank you for joining. Today is actually the third edition of 10 questions, but the first couples edition. So I'm super excited, and I hope you are too. So just in a little while, I'm going to bring on my guests and introduce them. Yes, Victoria, thank you for joining. I'm Greg, thank you for joining. So let's do this. Can you please share with your network, your group? Just share this, and hopefully today, if I'm sure of it, we're going to learn one or two or three things. It's usually an exciting time, and that's the gospel truth. It's usually an exciting time. I learn, my guests learn, we just learn, and knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. Once my guests come on, I will be giving a description on what exactly we're going to be doing. So let me see and try and bring them in so we can just get on with this as quickly as possible. And for the benefit of those joining for the first time, my name is Tinola Agbabiaka. I'm a wife, a mother, and I wear many hats. I'm a certified relationship counselor. I'm a lawyer by training. I'm many things. But for this particular Timeless with Tinu, I'm wearing the hat of a certified relationship counselor. Today, my guests are here. My people. Uncle Shala, Tafadeke, I call them. These are the Adepetuns. Saw that beautiful picture that I sent around. Yeah, they are. Thank you for joining me. Can you hear me?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. I fondly call them Uncle Shala and Sister Fadeke. And during the course of this, I would probably chip in every now and then, why I just like them. And so thank you for honoring this invitation. I'm honored. May the Lord honor you in all that you do.
Amen.
Okay, so I'm going to give you of course, the ground rules. Shala, my senior colleague, no vex, but I will have to give you rules.
So what?
This is 10 questions. It was actually what do I call it? Something that was laid heavily on my heart to do. And really, 10 questions is about love, relationships, and family. So I get to ask you 10 questions that you will have to answer. Now, there's a bonus 11th question that you may ask me if you wish. And you can ask me any question, and I would answer. So that's at the end of the 10 questions. Now, because this is a couples edition, I've done for individuals, this is the first couples one. The question will be one, but of course, double. I will probably throw it to, both of you just to see your different perspective. I know I've known you ever since you've been married, and I think recently I did hear, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that you've been married for close to Is it 35 years or 40?
35 years.
Sorry, Safarike, how many years?
Well, we've been married for 35 years, but we dated for 8 years. So I've known him for 43 years.
Can you imagine 43 years of Kushola? Ah! It is well. That's a lifetime. That's a lifetime. And so, but congratulations. And then, I'm sure you're wondering why us.
True.
Yes.
Yes.
So let me just lay that down before. I've been doing this for the past maybe about almost 16 years now, that God has given me this assignment for the family. And you may have come across one or two or three things that I've done consistently, because it is an assignment. Nobody is paying me, it's God that is paying me. But I've seen the results and the fruits in countless couples who have learned one, two, or three things from, what I do. So of course that gives me the satisfaction that, ministry is assignment. When and is obedience. Sorry. When God gives you something to do, you just need to obey. You just never can know who gets the say. So I've watched you, and I'm a very, 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 what's the word? I'm very intense and particular about things that I do. And I watch people, and by the grace of God, I'm able to tell. So I don't just call people to come and maybe chat with me because I'm looking for someone. I was led to call you. And part of this leading was the fact that while I know that if you have been married for 30, heck, I've been married for 27 years, and I have stories, the good, the bad, and the ugly, but it's in keeping that together that makes the testimony. We have never quarreled. In fact, if a preacher comes to me and says, I've been married to my wife and we have never quarreled, I lose interest. The sermon is over for me, because I want real people. I want, how you've done it, how you've, crossed that hurdle, brought down that mountain, elevated that valley to make a beautiful marriage. And you're still together. So that's, in fact, the fact that you could get both of you together is also a testimony. Because usually one party will want to do the other. I don't have time, Joe. I don't want to go and pretend to the world, me or I, But so thank you for being here. And then also, I have a friend. I was married before I met you. And I have a friend who told me about you, and she has done it twice. So I knew apparently you were part of her premarital counseling. And we just don't talk about you. So it's not like we have a conversation, but every time we're talking about things like that, or if you are close to me, you will know that I will talk about family, I'll talk about love, I'll talk about relationship. I don't have anything else I talk about. And she kept mentioning you too, that one of the counseling sessions that she enjoyed the most were with you. She can say with Safarike and Okushola and the Adepetuns. She said, because for one thing, she said they were real. That they were real. And you see this, she's probably been married now, let's say close to 16, 17 years. And the truth of the matter, you didn't know that you dropped that heavy seed in her own marriage. So on her behalf, I'd like to thank you. Too.
Thank you.
So today, 10 questions about love, family, and relationships. We're going to talk real. And I do have a lot of people who follow me, who go back, and I meet people, random people, strangers who say, I watched your session and I got this. I didn't realize it. So please, I appeal to you. There are people, their souls, there are people looking for answers. Unfortunately, the airwave has been taken over by the enemy. And that is why I keep doing this. I encourage myself in the Lord like David, and I keep doing this because every voice, especially in the family, in the home, I deal with a lot of couples, and if I tell you that 9 out of 10 ignorance, lack of who to talk to is the major problem, or talking to the enemy. So, Angshala, are you still there? It's looking as if it's gone off. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So, question number 1. I need a bell. Oriyomi, you are listening. I need a bell. Once I say question number 1, I need to do bagam. So, so smile now, Kushola. Smile.
No, good. I think
Okay,
we're ready for your
great.
questions.
So, question number 1, and I will start with ladies first. Don't shake your head now. Ladies first. Did you marry for love?
Clearly, I did. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here today. But did I know what love was at the time? It's a different question. So I don't know whether you want me to go into that.
Okay. So it's a two-part question.
Yeah.
What is love, and did you marry for love?
Okay. At the time I got married, I said we had dated for 8 years. It was a natural thing to do. Otherwise, my mother would have killed him. I was only 17. I was only 17 when I married him, when I started dating him. I'm ashamed to say that outside because at 17, you should still be studying and not looking at, I'm not having a boyfriend.
You be reading your books.
Yes, I was. He met me while I was reading my books, actually. I was reading my books when he met me. And so we dated for 8 years. And then at 2017, all the way to 25, what do you know that love is? Just that you like this person and naturally you went. But the important thing is that I can equate this to love with that we were friends. I really, he was the only person I could talk to. He was the only person I spoke to, about deep things. So we were friends and I equated that to love. But fortunately for me, the friendship turned into love. Of course, for many reasons, I was so sure he was not the one I was going to marry. Reason being, girls. He was a playboy. So I was so sure that he was not the one. But I found myself marrying him, and I don't regret it. So I guess I looked at the friendship as love. I didn't have any boyfriend. He was my first boyfriend. So naturally, after 8 years, he had no choice but to marry me. I had a choice, but he didn't have a choice.
Okay, that's fantastic. Angshala, what made you choose that among the many girls?
Thank you.
Okay, I just knew she had the values that I appreciate. From the very beginning, I knew that this was a very serious candidate as for the person that would be. She had everything that I would have been looking for in a wife. She was the kind of person I could take home to my mother. So even though I wasn't
kind of
exactly
that wants to take home to his mother.
Yeah. The what's the word I can use now? Discreet. I wasn't really the kind of person that you would, take home to at the time. I knew that this was my wife, and so regardless of what I did with other people or what I did, I just sort of kept a hold on and an eye on the person I'm going to marry. So each time she, because it cost me out somewhere, went back there, knowing that I didn't lose this. So that was it really, and I guess I won at the end of the day because she's here now as my wife. 35 years after. Okay, she claims that it is 43 because we started dating 43 years ago. I know we got married 35 years ago, so we always have this thing about how long have we been married. But she wants me to claim, so I claim 43.
Okay, that's fine. And that's your story, really, because I didn't have a long relationship. I wasn't I can't date somebody for that long, because I always said that the girl will probably be there and I would have practiced a lot of long suffering, while the guy would have, but then all that, how is that said? It has ended. It ended well.
It's well
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. Okay, so now question number 2. And let me start with Ombushola now. What is your love language? And what is Safarike's love language? So now, there are 2 things that I personally teach about love language, because it's important that you know yours, how you want to be loved, how you prefer to be loved, and then more importantly, how your partner wants to be loved. Because I found out, in talking to a lot of people, we do love the way we want, but it doesn't necessarily work for our partner. So, Ongshola.
That's a good question. I think that Adepetuns' love language is, and I think that I have this to a T in terms of getting it right, is words of appreciation. She really loves to be appreciated. She thrives on appreciation and acknowledgement, and it doesn't have to be anything dramatic. But when you show that you appreciate on little big things, then that really fills the love in her. It brings out the best in her. So that's for her. If I'm going to say what is mine, I would say practically the same thing as well. I think she would, she knows I appreciate gifts, and she knows that I also, a sense of appreciation. So I think it's almost the same sort of language that we speak, which makes it easier. I think I've heard Farika, am I?
To a certain extent, yes, you are.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so she's going to tell us now to what extent. So, Safarike.
Yes, it's spot on about the appreciation. But you see, this is about love language. It depends on the season, because some people, it depends on the season. Because I won't refuse it because I like appreciation. I like getting gifts.
Yeah, don't just say and then no gift. I get it.
So,
so
it depends
I think also love languages are mostly intertwined. So it's like the 5 love languages. We just have a degree of how much. It's not like because I like words of affirmation, then you say, no, just tell her you are beautiful and that's all. And you won't put a bright red sports car with a ribbon waiting for me, So it's in degrees. So it may be words of affirmation followed closely by Stangozi says Safarika is too funny. Yes, she is. But it's true. And it's true, even for, and I'm surprised. Okay, so let me not go into that. What about his? What do you think his is?
Yes, he loves appreciation a lot. He's right about that. He loves and he loves receiving. So you see, this love language matters. Honestly, it's not my cup of tea. I'm not saying.
No, but the truth is that it works. It works, and I'll tell you why. Because I cancel. I mean, by the grace of God, I get to counsel people in their maybe 60s, 70s who have been married for. And I find out that much of the complaint is rooted in how they treat each other. And how they treat each other comes from how I want to be appreciated. So I have a man, maybe in his, maybe close to 70, says, I bought her a house, I did this for her. What else? How many people do that? Can't look for men that don't do that. But she's saying, I don't want that. I mean, it's not that I don't want that. What I want more is quality time with you. You are too busy. You are all over the place. never intact. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So those are the, the degrees. So looking at love languages, you find out that getting back to the roots of how your spouse sees love makes a big difference in how the relationship, because otherwise one party will be doing everything that he thinks or she thinks he wants, and that's not. I know people. I had a couple, come on one of my post-marital boot camp sessions, and everything, they kept arguing, fighting, and by the time we got to the topic of sex, I was expecting to see that we haven't had sex since last year. You will not believe that both of them ticked twice a day. And I'm like, so you can come together twice a day in this busy Lagos, no NEPA, no to have sex, but you must fight also every day. So they didn't understand each other. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So for me personally, and because it's very, very important, if I know that this is what you want, then I'll give it to you. And then we are not quarreling. As opposed to my doing everything I think you want, and then we end up quarreling. And then I'm thinking, what an ungrateful man, or what an ungrateful woman. And just before we go on to question 3, I wanted to bring in here how, in those days that we're all raised to be the good wife by being a good cook, learning, in those days, our parents, our grandparents' days, a good wife was measured by how well you could do, you could cook food. But it hasn't worked. How many cooks are happily married? That's the that's the truth. And there are a lot of people who can cook jack, who are happy, and because that's not what their spouse wants, as because that would fall under act of service. So let's move on. Now, like we're talking now, I know there are a lot of people learning and listening and learning. And like somebody told me the last time that as I was interviewing the person, that she started thinking of her own, introspecting, so to speak, of her own life. So let's move on. Question number 3. Yep. Of course, your parents, your grandparents, thrice or how many times over? What was your parenting style? Let me go to Uncle Shola. Was it my word is law? Come, let us reason together, or you live and learn?
I think it was come, let us reason together. I think that I was, and I still am, very open, very
accommodating. State your case.
I sort of see. Yeah, let's reason together. Let's talk. My wife finds that to be too easy. But many times she's saying that I'm not maybe strict enough, not hard enough. But it works because when you develop, but I think it works. There are different methods. But this method of being very close to your children in terms of a relationship, a friendly, more invited relationship, means that the minute you withhold that friendship or you withdraw, you get what you want because they're now used to that friendship. They can't imagine life without that friendship, that bond. So the minute you begin to see that lines are crossed and you begin to withdraw and they see that, this man is no longer available, this man is no longer accessible, this man is not happy with me. It works more than 6 strokes of the cane. So it was all about relationship building, and I don't know what she thinks, but she felt that, maybe I took it too far. Then she's there. Okay. She will tell us how she counterbalanced.
Okay. So do I need to go over it again? My word is law. Come, let us reason together, or you live and learn.
I don't know where you want to put the methods of parenting that I used. Because it was, as you said, in today's world, they probably call it child abuse. So I may have employed some of our parents' tactics I call it strategies of bringing up children.
Yeah.
I use the cane quite often. So through cane, face corner, but I still love you. I still hug you. You can still talk to me. I use my eyes to correct, and if don't get it, I'm not sure the younger of the two actually understands the eye much. I don't know what happened. Maybe I dropped the ball. But the comfort I had was that every time I did the discipline, they could go to their dad, knowing that he will comfort them. But we didn't allow them to play us against each other. So I did what I needed to do with the cane, where other was telling me it's getting too much. But to the glory of God, today, they are not children who are depressed or who said that, even they said it behind my back, that I abuse them physically. Well, it all works out for good. At the time, I don't think, and this is for people who have, especially who have girls, teenagers going from age 11 to before she married. My daughter and I were not friends. And my husband she was always the mediator, was always the one to he settled all kinds of fights until just before she got married. But after she got married, guess what? She was very grateful. We are now extremely close because she looked. So I tell people come and say,
"Thank God you did this." Yeah.
How do you do it? How do you work? My daughter and I said, just keep on doing what you're doing. Prayer, counseling, and don't spare the rod. I said one day she'll look back and she'll thank you. So it was a good balance. It was a good balance.
I think that's very important too, because of course, guarding against them pitching both of you against each other. We from very young, it's very important to put that in place because children can do that. If there's one strong third party in the home, it is children. They know how to play, especially when they see that maybe daddy thinks mommy is too hard or mommy thinks your daddy is always shouting at you. So, well, it worked out well. And I also insist that there are family dynamics that a couple must come together and, develop to raise their own children. Because you find, two people coming with two different background and dynamics. I mean, and for men, usually it's you live and learn. Let them make the mistake now. Let them make the mistake, they learn. But you can't just leave it like that, especially for just mistakes can be costly sometimes. Okay, I think in answering that, I'm not sure. My question number 4, I said, who is the voice of reason? I'm trying to think that, has that been answered? Amongst you two, who is the voice of reason?
I think it's a case-by-case situation. You can't say one person is generally the voice of reason. It depends. It depends on where we're talking about academics. It depends on what we're talking about. It depends on which child, what child is the girl or the boy, and even that girls are two different individuals. So I think it's a broad question, and we can't just give this person is the voice of reason.
Okay, let me narrow it down then. Who is the voice of reason in playing family, home, like building? Because you know how it is, couples. One person says, I want to do this in maybe in the next 6 months. The other person knows, look, my friend, yes, it's desirable, but we have this, we have that, we have that. Who would you say is that person?
Shola, do you want to take that?
Okay, let me ask Shola.
it's an interesting question. I would go with what Fareke said earlier.
Smart.
You know, it depends on the.
Yeah.
I think that no, really. He's just being down on reasonable. And I do the same thing about me. But what it is that, and this, I'm talking, using this opportunity to talk to couples. There are times when your spouse would feel that really must be Mars, and that you cannot normal the way
yeah.
Yeah. You need to understand at that point in time that as long as you have at the back of your mind that the decisions that are being taken are towards the good of both, you need to be able to appreciate, okay, this is just another point of view. And step back a bit and try to listen to what the person is saying.
Okay, I get that.
Without a selfish reason. The person is doing it because he's trying to prove a point. But at the end of the day, what is the discussion about? Try and look at the objective of the discussion. It's a divergence here because they're taking two different positions. But what's the objective? If the objective is for the good of both of you, or for the family, or for the children, or for something that will benefit both of you, then I honestly believe in don't sweat the small stuff. If it is something that can be, just avoid, you know, so being a voice of reason at times means just being the person to keep quiet. And that's being reasonable in the circumstances. It is not about you talking, at times about you just sitting down to listen, about letting him way or letting him have his way in that circumstance. And so you move on to other things that are more important than continue to spot being unreasonable, if I'm making any sense at all.
I agree. And you know, just as you were talking, I remember that I once wrote a piece about you can't be right all the time, because if you're right all the time, it means your partner, your spouse, is wrong all the time, and that does not work as for good partnership, because then you're going to be wondering, why am I here if you can do it alone? So I guess I agree. The wisdom and the different situations. There are things that my children know that if they don't want to hear a flat out no, they will come and sound it by me first, because I think they think I'm the difficult one. So they will come and of course they know their daddy may say, yeah, okay, then you mention it, so I say, Nibo, no, aha, say mommy is there. Or you say, let me talk to mommy. So I get that. Thank you. Question number 5. Uncle Shola, I don't know if you remember, many years back, I think we were trying to get money for our couples program and everything, and we came to you for money. And you told me, Fadeke is in charge of money. Whatever she says is what you're going to do. And I said, so rich people too hand over their money to their wives to manage. Yeah. Now, I don't know if Fadeke, I can't recall if Fadeke ever gave us that money, you know, but, and like I said, sometimes we drop things and we don't realize that someone is listening and picking up. But I did like that. And I found that it was quite refreshing. I mean, the dynamics of finance is very tricky. There's no one size fits all. But what should happen with a couple is what works for you. It's easy to say open a joint account, but if you have a joint account with a thief, you're going to be sorry, you're going to be robbed blind, because one day you wake up and you are left with nothing, so okay. Oriami saying that you did. Hey, I was going to start frowning from now and ask you hard questions, but you have been So what I wanted to ask is, what are the dynamics of, I mean, you just dropped that and I got it, but I want to know, what are the dynamics? Of course, it's not like you were not earning. I mean, I don't know, do you have a joint account? Do you have individual accounts? Do you have a general home? What do you advise for maybe young couples or even couples, there are old couples who haven't gotten it right? Everybody will put money. There was a woman that told me, she came crying to me once. She had been helping her out of job husband for years, donkey years. She would be the one covering up everything. And then one day she was looking through something by his side bed drawer and found that he had done a job. And guess what? He sent 95% of the money he made to his mother in the village. And she was just distraught. She said, look, he did this. This person has not contributed nothing all these years. He finally got something. He hid it from her and then sent all the money to his mom. So I just want to know, we have our own dynamics, but I think we are all interested in hearing about how you manage yours. So let me start with Safadeke. Who handles the money?
Yes, you did mention that every home is different.
Yes.
And again, you have to find out what works for you. But from very, very early in a marriage, had kind of, I don't want to use the word delegate, but it had kind of put me in charge, and not that. Well, of course, it's also I wouldn't say the more prudent, or maybe I is because he takes risk more than I do. I don't have the liver for risk, but he just trusts me with those things, and he complains about my negotiation tactics, or my call it talent, so that when people come to him and tell him that maybe a project, and they tell him, or and an artisan, and they tell him that okay, this is 10,000 naira. The minute he says, they beg my so so I would say, so for some things he leaves me to, he discusses with me that what do you think we should do about this, and then most of the time of course I don't take all the decisions, he does too, but you're right, he gives me control of what we should do and what should not be do. But that having said that he's not going to give me the control about what kind of car he wants to buy and when he wants to buy it. I just realized that we are buying a car. He once told me once that I would like, everybody that knows me knows that I don't like driving. I don't like, I like a good car, but what's a good car to me? A good car, a nice Camry is a good car. But he once told me once that, Fadi, I'm sure that you like a G-Wagon for your birthday present. And I told him, if you want to buy a G-Wagon for yourself, please do so. Don't use me as an excuse. Go come and get a G-Wagon. It's my driver that will drive it. So
I'll be driving it.
So when he wants to buy things for himself, or if my husband goes out and buys, not all that he can give me a gift, but if he goes out, casually go out, and then he buys something for me, a very, very nice, maybe quite pricey. The first thing I ask you is, what do you buy for yourself? Because you must have gone out, bought that thing, and said, I can't go back home and say that I bought this myself. Let me just use buy one for her.
Just buy.
So in such situations, I don't have control. I don't have control over what kind of car he'll buy. No. That's something, other things that he give me control of. But some things he won't.
He will keep to himself.
Am I wrong?
Yeah, something like you wrong.
Well, No, well, she's not. No, to a great extent, she's not. I think that you said something about rich. I don't know about rich, but I claim it. Okay, but what? Let me use that rich and expand it, bring it into the. Any man is only as rich as the both of you are. You and your wife. You cannot be 100% and your wife is 10% and think you're 100%.
They need to know.
In that case, you really are only like 45% or 40%. They're not complete. You're only as wealthy as the both of you are. You are half as wealthy as the combined wealth of both of you. Two of you are one. So if she doesn't have anything and you have everything, then you only have half. That's the way it is really. So the way I look at wealth is that, if you think that your wife is struggling or your husband is struggling, you work both ways, and you are doing okay, you have not realized the full potential of the love or the bonding or the relationship that you have. Because there's something lacking. One person is the other, so you're not in sync. That's the way it is with financing. You're not in sync. If you go out as a man, three-piece striped suit, looking sharp, everything, just looking on point and very tasteful and very expensive, and your wife is there just managing, you can see from her dressing that she's not happy, and you think that you're looking good together. No, people are looking at you. You're actually losing face. People can't respect you as much as they would. However, if your wife is even looking better than you are, then people are saying to you, this is a man that's wife. So you see, and it works both ways, to be honest. So we have mostly joint accounts. And the accounts, she has whatever. I don't know that she doesn't know all that. I don't hide it because we're doing things together. I'm not saying that people shouldn't have their own separate accounts. Please, you must have that, because I know there are times when you want to buy something, you want to do something, especially the woman, you don't want to be husband, you would all the time what you're doing, and you don't want any questions. That's things that you want to buy, you don't want any questions. So please have your own account and do that. But as much as possible, don't let money become an issue between both of you. It's not as easy as saying it. But the difference it will make to your marriage the minute you find out that this belongs to you.
It's our money, not my money.
It has to be our money. It has got to be our money. There's just no other way.
I just wish that would be. I once was privileged to speak at a couples program just for pastors and ministers, and one of the pastors asked the question. No, he made a comment, and he started out, he said, well, for years that he was out of work, it was the wife that was, covering up, but that he has started working now, and he has no intention of giving her access to his money, because until he reads in his Bible that Abraham gave Sarah money, that's when he, even my host was embarrassed. My host was embarrassed.